So we want to talk a little bit about energy usage and efficiencies, all of those sort of things. And I think when we talk about that, we not only look locally at ways to improve our lot in life, if you will. I think we have to look at it from a global perspective. You know, what we do here affects what happens, can affect what happens in Asia and India and places like that, and vice versa. So, one item that's fairly controversial right now, at least in the Puget Sound area, for instance, is the potential impacts of exporting U.S. coal to the east, and there's a lot of I think there's quite a bit of opposition to it within the city of Seattle and a lot of the jurisdictions along the Puget Sound. Even though that there's some support for it as well because it provides jobs, and there's the thought being is that that the East Asian markets will burn coal for electricity. The benefit is if they burn U.S. coal, then there's a trade balance sort of situation. The flip side to that may be something to the effect of, well, if U.S. coal doesn't flood the market, then the price may make it that situation where it's more cost effective to go to yet again another resource that doesn't create such climate impact. So I think what the point being is that that's a specific instance where we have to look at things more globally than just locally. And when you're looking at your capstone projects, I think that things that can affect global matters or look at global matters would be a unique opportunity to find solutions.
Yeah, I'm going to take a slightly different perspective. While the large picture, of course, is important, smaller pictures are often easier to deal with, especially in the scope of a project, perhaps like a capstone project. So I would encourage you, depending on what you might select as a project topic, some of your very best resources can be your local jurisdiction level folks. Find folks in planning departments, in cities and counties that might be doing work on projects that you find interesting, that perhaps match up with whatever interests you might have. There's a wealth of knowledge there in those folks. And then those are the folks that are having to both implement the federal and state requirements as well as the local policies that have been developed for each community and reflecting the different communities' values. And you might see a fairly wide range of those values. So what might be appropriate for one jurisdiction or welcomed in one jurisdiction might be looked at differently in another jurisdiction or another community. So if your topic is something that's a bit more local, I would encourage you to look at what some of the local jurisdictions have to say about the values in their community. A good place to look to start with is their comprehensive plans, because typically the jurisdictions or the citizens of the jurisdiction will try to capture in their comprehensive plan in the different parts of the plan, be it land use development or environmental issues or transportation or energy, sensitive areas. That's where you're going to find sort of the high level expectations of the community, and once you get a good sense for that, when you find something that matches up, then you can start talking with folks in those communities and start to drill down to see what else might be available in those local jurisdictions. Keeping in mind that whatever their choices are for our priorities, they still oftentimes have to work within a framework that's provided by state folks or the feds or even local counties, especially in the area of growth management, because counties make some of the decisions in terms of allocation of growth and higher level countywide policies that the local jurisdictions then each have to comply with. So, yeah, depending on what your interest is, those could be a good place to start.